Okay.
everyone, and welcome to another episode of Movie Cast, where we will be discussing, breaking down, and just giving our thoughts overall of the brand new Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer that was released a couple days ago. I am your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Miles Morales. It is an honor and a pleasure to meet you, Miles. I met two Miles within 2 months. You and me. So how
Oh,
are
yes.
you doing, Mr. Miles?
I'm doing pretty good, Dana. What's up, listeners and viewers? And hopefully, I will be making some type of appearance in this movie because everyone has been waiting for Miles to show up in the MCU.
Everyone has been waiting for Miles. We do know that his cousin was there previously,
Mm-hmm.
and so who knows what this could bring. I'm very excited to see like a maybe a trailer or a little tiny teaser at the end of this. I know you can't fully make an appearance until 27, but 27 is a couple months away, so we're getting ready for you. So, what are your immediate thoughts when you saw the Brand New Day trailer and the kind of the continuation of the series?
All right. Well, first and foremost, I thought the trailer was great. Normally, I mean, I did not know much going into this next movie. All I knew was the way that the last one ended. That obviously, Mary Jane and she would not remember Peter Parker. That was the whole point of what happened in that last Spider-Man movie. That his friends, both his friends would not remember him, and for that matter, a lot of people don't really know who Peter Parker is, so on and so forth. So going into this trailer, I thought it was great. You know, we saw some of the characters. Well, we saw, I believe it was the return of what is it, Scorpion. We did see him show up, which, again, if you've been watching all the Spider-Man movies, he had teased a long time ago that he was going to get his hands on Spider-Man. So I'm glad that they went back to that. And overall, like I said, there's a lot going on in the trailer. I didn't really understand, you know, when they were talking about all the stuff that Peter's going through. I thought that's a great way to further explore the character because it emphasizes that he's been doing this for a while and now he's starting to change. And the thing is, I don't know any of this stuff from the comics because I haven't been reading the comics for quite some time. So I will be looking forward to seeing how they tell this story. And at some point, I may go back and check out some stuff. But overall, I'm going to trust that I'll get a lot of questions answered in the actual movie.
And sometimes it's a good way to go into things not knowing everything. I know a lot of people are kind of upset that, we have the whole Jean Grey situationship where people are arguing whether or not that is Jean Grey, and poor Sadie Sink, they dragged her to do all these press junkets, and she literally can't say anything, which has always been weird to me because I've interviewed actors where we can't tell you about this character, and I'm like, why not have a separate press junket? When the movie releases, well, we can ask a whole bunch of questions about their character, and they can speak freely. And maybe not just allot it to a Deadline or the Hollywood Reporter. Let everybody be able to talk. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. So she is just quiet, being like, yeah, I like the color green. I wear a jacket. We can't do anything with it. But of course, it also does look like there are going to be other appearances by others, maybe. But, if you look at the trailer, it looks kind of heavily edited. So we will see. It does. We'll see what happens. But I am very excited for this. I was always excited for another Spider-Man, but this seems to be, and this is an evolution, literally, of Spider-Man and what that means for going into Peter Parker's life in general, and this kind of universe that'll probably branch out into the multiverse because we do have Secret Wars coming. We have Doomsday. We have I don't want to say Battle Beast, Battle Worlds coming as well. So this should be very fun. I know that the actress Zendaya was like, "Oh, it's sad. Grab some tissues." I don't think she's gonna die. Maybe Ned, but who knows? Anyway, let's get to the trailer. What we do know is this: it is 4 years later after the events of the last Spider-Man, where everyone on this universe, on this earth, most seems to have forgotten, doesn't know, not seems to, just completely doesn't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Or even who Peter Parker is. And if you read, there was released like kind of a script of the first page, the first sequence of what's going to happen. He is digitally erased out of all photographs, because you can't be like, look, who's this in a photo? I don't know. He's erased. So he is erased from everyone's mind because of the spell that he made Doctor Strange do. Well, not he made, but he asked him to do, and screwed that whole thing up. And that is how we ended up with the worlds branching in. And so everyone who knew Peter Parker, who knew Spider-Man, no matter what universe it was trying to invade 616, our Earth. And so now it's everyone has to forget who Peter Parker is. And another thing that wasn't answered within this trailer is, does that mean that the spell affects the entire universe? Because remember, we had the multiverse, where we know that there are different Earth versions. For example, Fantastic Four is not the same universe as our Spider-Man, Tom Holland. But we don't know that yet, which could make the Jean Grey character very interesting, because we don't know if that is Jean Grey. Where did she come from? So, 4 years later, I am going to assume he got his GED. We do know that Ned and MJ, I think it's like kind of the last semester or so within their college. They went to MIT. They're recording this. It's also a good warning that somebody is always going to be watching your Instagram and your social media. Someone's always watching. And so he's kind of creeping from afar, keeping tabs on them. Remember in the last movie, he had this whole note that he wanted to give to MJ. And he realized, because MJ said to this person she does not know, about the scar. And the scar hurt. He realized that he was hurting the people who was most close to him. Remember Aunt May died? MJ ended up with the scar. I'm pretty sure Ned is like, whoa, what's going on? Kind of situation. So he decided to not give it to her. He decided let her go off into college and to have this experience just as a normal person of not knowing who I am and what I do. So the concept of that was always nice, but now it seems that, like all people, like all evolutions, Spider-Man is evolving. And his powers are becoming more organic. We knew it was a huge plot. Not a huge plot. It was a conversation between the Peters in the previous movie about, hey, your webbing is not organic. He has to create these shooters. And we see that his shooters are malfunctioning, and he is producing actual webs from his wrist. Which, is kind of funny when we go back to the previous movie, because it's like, where else do they come from? So now he's experiencing that. Also, it would be nice to know if the three Peters, at least, were talking to each other. But obviously, I don't think that they are, because he could have easily went to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and be like, hey, what's going on? Can you walk me through this? So he's all alone in this world. And it's very important to know that he's also lonely in this world. He is very isolated. No one knows him. He doesn't seem to have any friends aside from Evie. Who is Evie? Evie is the AI that he created. It's kind of like a version of Jarvis. So, yeah, she helps around, but she's AI. She's not a person. Which, again, I hope we're also exploring, friendships with AI and how that's not actually real. Because we do know a lot of people are like friends with AI instead of having real friends. But yeah. So, what did you think of the concept Zendaya, MJ, and Ned are now in college? Well, they're way into college now. They're in MIT. Zendaya is dating a new guy who could possibly be a villain, or one of the many villains, or even like a little un poquito villain. I don't think Sadie Sink is a villain. I think she's just misunderstood. But could be kind of a villain. And then on top of that, we're also getting into the evolution. Now, this has been a theory of Oscorp. Or just could be Val rebuilding the Avengers Tower. But we do know that there is a connection to a company, a tech company, where Zendaya and Ned, went and was offered a job, and they was like, no. And Zendaya's boyfriend is like, always fighting the good fight, which would be the evil corporations of tech world and AI. So that piece we'll talk about. What are your thoughts on that? Because I love the fact that we see him growing, also getting a little back pain, remember stretching, which is very good. Also came from the other Peters during that stretching scene in the last movie. So what are your thoughts on not just him evolving as a person, but also the powers?
Well, I think that the time jump was a very good idea because it will give some time after between the last movie and this movie. And I also like that because when we saw the other movies before that, they were all still in high school. It kind of felt like you were seeing how the characters and their relationships would evolve over every year while they was in high school. So I do like that this is just straight up a time jump 4 years ahead. And of course, they're in college now, Ned and MJ. So yeah, I like that. I like that. What you said about the powers evolving, that's a tidbit that I missed in the last movie when they had the conversation between the three Spider-Man. So that's very smart that they would now have him going through this same stuff. And I would not completely rule out the possibility that there may be a future interaction with another one of, if not both of those Spider-Mans down the road. Like you said, if this goes into a multiverse movie, then that's very possible that could happen at a later time. But no, I think it's a great way to show the character grow. Definitely talking about some of the issues that he has to deal with as he gets older and his powers are starting to evolve. And of course, being isolated from everybody else. I think this is a very good way to show us how the character handles these types of situations. As for the villain stuff, I heard a rumor a long time ago that they did want to make Ned turn into a villain eventually. I think that would be quite heartbreaking if that happens, considering the friendship that he had with Peter. But again, they don't know each other now, so we'll have to see where that goes. I mean, Peter knows them, but they don't know Peter like that. So I do want to see where they go. The last point I did want to mention, however, as for Sadie Sink, you made mention about the interviews. I saw one of those interviews. I think it was Fandango or something where they have the cast there. Tom Holland's cracking a lot of jokes and stuff. And then all of a sudden, the person doing the interview say, hey, Sadie, I can't ask you anything about what your character is and who you are, but how was it working with you, working with everybody? Yeah, this seems kind of awkward to have to be in that situation. We understand they want to keep everything under wraps, but they don't have too much longer to wait because the movie will be out next month. But very, very entertaining interview, though, I will say. That made me more curious to see the movie. And I actually already pre-ordered my ticket, so I am going to see the movie next month.
I just muted myself. Okay, very excited about that part. Yeah, and then, we'll get into who Sadie could be. It's just odd. And so I'm kind of wondering, sometimes when we keep things secret, it works very well. Sometimes when you reveal it, people are like, meh. And then sometimes other times when you do reveal it, you're like, I hate you so much. And I think that they are learning from the Doctor Strange era, the multiverse of madness, for when they revealed that Professor X was in it in another alternate version. And that pretty much was something that should have just been kept silent and saved in the movie. So we'll see what's happening as that. But if she is Jean Grey, I'm gonna be like, what was the point? We can figure it out. She even had the coat. She's wearing the coat from the comics. It's like, how stupid do you think people are? Maybe the non-fans, the non-comic book readers will be like, they don't know from a jacket and the telepathic, things that she's able to do. So kind of moving on, we'll get to possible Jean Grey a little bit later. We do have that Spidey is going through all of these changes. And we do have clips that are absolutely beautiful of him fighting in a prison against the Hand. And we know the Hand from Daredevil. And we know that Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is currently in the jail. He revealed to everyone that he was Daredevil. So, of course, they arrested him and put him in prison for all of the crimes that he created, even though I'm like, people are just unappreciative. And we do know that Kingpin is in jail as well. And we do know that Daredevil season 3 will kind of originate, at least the opening part will be them in jail. We've seen set photos of them on the street, and anyway, I love this. Not just the fact it's questionable. Like, why is the Hand here? So it's like, are they trying to kill Matt Murdock, who is now, it's all open borders. Essentially, everyone knows exactly who he is and where he's at. So they're trying to kill Matt Murdock. Why are they back? That is another huge question. But I will say this: the cinematography was delicious. And we are able to see that this is also another one of the Spidey senses that's heightened. And also we got some new tech, but it's not Star tech. Not Stark at all. Which also goes to the loneliness of him having to be a superhero completely all by himself, without the aid of anything. But of course, Peter Parker is not dumb. He was supposed to get an MIT. It's the whole reason the MIT situation shift. So what were your thoughts on the Hand? Do you think that Daredevil is going to make an appearance? Why are they here?
That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure what I think the Hand that's another little plot device. They have a lot of villains are in this movie, I would anticipate. We already saw Scorpion, so the Hand being involved, who knows? Maybe they could be working with Scorpion and his other crew, because I thought that we were going to see some type of Sinister Six in the movie. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I assume that they could be working alongside Scorpion. They all have a single target to go after Spider-Man. I do agree the cinematography looks great. And what we saw in the trailer, what little we saw in the trailer about how, Peter Parker's powers are evolving was very interesting. You saw Peter's eyes turn black, which I thought was, that's kind of scary. But no, I thought that was great. Now, as for Daredevil showing up, we do know that I believe Daredevil season 3, did they not confirm that they're bringing back Luke Cage and Jessica Jones?
Yeah, they did the whole thing with the baby and Jessica Jones, and the baby's all nice and chocolatey and mixed race, and we already know that Finn Jones, Jesus Christ,
your favorite,
is coming back, maybe.
Yeah, he is your favorite. Iron Fist, he is one of your favorites. Yes, they have to bring them back. So I'm going to assume that Daredevil, yes, I think he could make an appearance. Obviously, we already know Punisher is in the movie. That's another thing that I did like about what I saw of the interviews, because the fact that that Tom Holland is such a great friends with the actor John Bernthal, and they wanted to work together. So I'm looking forward to seeing their scenes together. We saw some of that stuff in the trailer very briefly, but I'm looking forward to seeing that, because again, they both are very happy to be working on this project. I'm happy that they still have this guy playing the Punisher, because he's done a phenomenal job as the character. But yeah, I think you definitely can see Daredevil in this, and I also am curious to see how this will lead into the other Avengers movies, because clearly they're going to need other heroes to help them as well, I would think, down the road. So I do want to see how they get to that point.
It will be interesting. We'll get to John Bernthal later. It's interesting. I'm happy that they like each other. Remember, he knew Tom Holland when he was like a little kid, because they did a movie together. When I forgot the name of the movie, but they did a movie together when he was like a little kid. So I'm happy for that friendship. We'll get into the improv scenes that they do have later on, and how he's connected with MJ, and then the whole One Last Kill, my theory about that, which was it was a fantastic, god-awful movie, or short. We'll get into that part, but as we know, he is not able to explain what's going on with his body and the fact that he is evolving. We do have voiceovers by Keith David, which you know is one of my favorite actors in that voice, and we'll get into who he is the Jackal, who is also a professor. Sorry. But one of the things that is interesting is, despite Peter's loneliness and watching things from afar, and his only friend is an AI, and him kind of getting his GED and everything, being alone and isolated, he is still making stupid decisions and asking stupid questions. What do I mean by that? He ends up finding Bruce Banner, who does not know who he is. Because remember, the cell, he does not know who he is. And I do not feel that either Hulk, Smart Hulk, we do know Great Hulk is going to be in there. Hulk is also, is going to be in there. I do not feel that they know who he is. Because they had such brief moments that he wasn't like a deep dive until like, hey kid, who are you? I'm Peter Parker. It wasn't that at all. But he ends up going to Professor Bruce Banner, who is regular, and he is wearing a device that is able to, kind of control the gamma rays so that he does not turn into the Hulk. One of the things that I am very excited for, we'll get into this later, is we have Hulk is back. We also have Grey Hulk, but Hulk is back, and we have not seen him in a very long time, maybe just a very long time. I want to say over 10 years, but I can't math right now. I feel like it was a while ago, because remember when Thanos scared him, beat him so bad, it scared him, and he wouldn't come out? So it's been a while since that's happened. But he goes to him and is like, hey, Professor, can you find a way to keep the good Spider-Man parts and just get rid of the bad parts? Which again, to me, proves he hasn't learned from his whole interaction with Doctor Strange, who Doctor Strange made very adamant he does not know this kid anymore. Because the spell was like, hey, maybe just my friends know, but no, maybe not them over there. Maybe just MJ and then Ned. Oh, wait, the college professor and this. And he kept changing it so much to the point where the spell was just a hot mess. And that's when we ended up with the chaos that we did get. So him singing, we just keep the good parts and get rid of the bad parts? I am confused about your thought process, because we went through a whole thing of you not knowing what you want and being direct and learning that sometimes, great responsibility and all of that mess that Aunt May was talking about, you need to apply it with this. So it is very frustrating to see this kid, who is now would be in his 20s, still act like a child. So 4 years ago, we learned nothing. What are your thoughts on like, hey, can we change some parts but keep the other parts? Do you think that was a smart idea, or has he learned? Does he need to be knocked upside his head again?
Well, yeah, he definitely will have to learn, and I think what better way for him to learn than to potentially have to fight the Hulk? I mean, that is, as soon as I saw the Hulk with that device. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. At some point, that device is going to get broken, and then he's going to turn into the Hulk. So, as a fan, yeah, I do want to see that. Obviously, there's going to be some interactions between those characters, but yeah, I think Peter. I kind of understand why he is asking all these questions. Like you said, he is alone. He doesn't really know what he obviously knows what his job is. He still wants to protect New York City from all the criminals, but he's going to run into issues if he's not really communicating with anybody. He has no friends or anybody to talk to, no fellow heroes that he's working alongside. So he's going to be making a lot more mistakes, I would think. But he should have learned from the last from what happened previously, but no, he did not learn. So this will be a fun lesson in this movie.
It's really interesting. And then, we also get more parts of he's getting sticky everywhere. A bird smacks into his chest. So does it come out everywhere? We don't know. That is a funny joke. But I do love the fact that he does not have control over anything anymore. He is completely lost. there is no mother or father or aunt figure in his life, and so Bruce Banner most likely has to be that. We do know that Doctor Strange previously, he treated him as his son. He knows like, yeah, I can't stand you. He loved it for that boy. And I think he took on the responsibility that Tony Stark originated. And now we could probably see that transference to um, Bruce Banner and maybe Punisher. Now it's going to be interesting to learn how Punisher, because Punisher is doing his own thing. So here's my thoughts from kind of Punisher. We'll get to you. In the previous one shot, which I loved and hated with a passion, we all know that he was trying to commit suicide in the beginning of the movie. He instead, it was a metaphor of him fighting all of his demons. He killed 100 people in the streets of New York that looked like something out of I don't know what hell. People are like, oh, it's really New York City. It was New York City in the 80s and the 90s. You can make your argument maybe like the beginning of the 2000s, but definitely the 80s and the 90s. So he just basically was killing everybody, and everybody was trying to come for him. Remember, there was a bounty on his head, and it was absolutely ridiculous. But if we make the argument, it was a symbolic metaphor for him getting over the demons of still with the kid and my family and my wife and from before. So we did see at the end of that movie how he was trying to protect the kid as well, and that he cares for the innocent. And we do see that Peter, even though he's a bit older, has this kind of older brother relationship, could be with him. He does know who Frank Castle is. Frank Castle obviously does not know who Peter Parker is. Or maybe it's interesting because this also goes into relation. Now we have to talk with Sadie Sink. So before we do, we can also bring in Sadie Sink to it this. So it is a theory that the DODC was keeping Jean Grey, or whomever she is playing, held captive at a facility. Jean was able to escape from that facility. And this is when she's able to do her own freeze, her own telepathic. I originally thought it was a symbiote. I was like, it's Eminem with the venom. Remember that song? I was like, Venom isn't here? It's not in here. It is Jean Grey, or whomever it may be, who is able to bounce in from body to body, telepath, and is able to do this big boom where everyone freezes. We've seen this kind of with Charles Xavier, even though he's just able to stop everything. With Charles Xavier, so we have that kind of, it's X-Men leading. Now we can say mutant. We could say mutant a little while ago, because remember, they got the rights back from Fox. But the point is, for some reason, Peter Parker, who I believe is because he's going through his own spider puberty, is not affected by this. Frank Castle is not affected by this. But I do feel that they purposely edit out something or someone, because it just doesn't make any sense for Frank Castle to not be affected by it. Is it because he fought all of his mental illness? I don't think so. So there is something or someone who is protecting Frank Castle. So because he is unaffected by this, obviously this is the introduction of why the Punisher would be in this. Remember, this is all ground level stuff. This is not like, oh, from Space Invaders. This is all ground level things that is going on the ground. So that is why Frank Castle is there. That is why we're going to still make the argument that Daredevil is there. Obviously, it is not Kingpin doing this. But I wanted to know from you, from your thoughts on the Punisher, your thoughts on this Sadie Sink character of Jean Grey and not Jean Grey, who she is able to have telepath, where she is hopping into other people. And not just the fact that we're hopping into other people, she knows exactly who Peter Parker is, because she's like, let's have that conversation with MJ. So she knows the whole history of what's going on with him and the friends, and she obviously was not affected by the spell because she's Jean Grey. Thoughts? Or maybe she's just from another universe and she's somehow, I don't know. This is a whole big thing of which we don't know. We are dealing with the multiverse. We do know that Bruce Banner was doing studies about quantum physics, genetics, and smart people things. What are your thoughts on Punisher and Jean Grey, who's not Jean Grey but could be Jean Grey?
Well, personally, I am a fan of the Punisher character. Um, I like the idea of including a lot of these street level heroes in this because I still would like to see these characters appear in Avengers movie in the future. I don't know if that's going to ever happen. You know, obviously they've already said who the cast are for Doomsday, and some of those people were not mentioned. So I don't really know if they're going to be in that movie or not. They might as well be because they're a part of the story about what's happening with Peter Parker now. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think you make a good point to question why Punisher is involved in this. I think that question will get answered. Obviously, like you said, there is somebody who else. I don't think they have revealed all of the villains in this movie. You saw some of the people that they were fighting, but there's obviously another villain that we don't really know who that villain is, at least not yet. So I do want to see how they explain that. But as for Sadie Sink, this is an interesting thing because, like I said, I've heard multiple theories about who she is playing. The Jean Grey theory makes a lot of sense because we already know that Cyclops and the X-Men are featured in the next Avengers movie. And specifically, Marvel has to know people are going to ask, well, where is this X-Men movie? So they have to start to build to that towards that, whoever's going to be on that team. So if she is playing Jean Grey, that's fine with me. I just want to see how they explain that. But I've also heard that she could be playing there was a couple different characters. One character I remember is they said that she could be playing the daughter of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and that's why I say I think eventually they are going to have Tom Holland cross paths with one of the other Spider-Mans. I just don't know how they're going to do that because again, they're in different worlds. I don't know how they're going to explain that, but I feel like that has to happen because that individual, they would be the ones to better help him understand what's happening to him and how to deal with what he's dealing with. So I do want to see how they get to that. But yeah, Sadie Sink being added is interesting. I hope that the secret remains a secret until the movie comes out. But obviously, when this movie comes out, the same day, as soon as they have premieres, no, I will take that back. Because I'm sure the media, yourself included, will be seeing this movie a couple of days, if not a week before. I'm going to make a prediction. Somebody, not you, of course, Dana, somebody will leak this information before the movie comes out. So that I think is a guarantee. So we'll get our answers, but I do want to see how they're going to tell that story.
I would just like to say for the record that it will be a miracle if I can get in the Spider-Man movie. I don't even remember how I got into the last one. I really can't remember if that was like because there was T-Mobile and it gave like a $5 ticket, or because I was a friend of somebody and they got me in. But Sony does not know my existence. I have tried to introduce myself to Sony and it's been like, wait, no. So I don't know what's going to happen with me in Brand New Day. I just know that the weekend tickets are not available at all. So yeah, I do have. Oh, forgive me. I do haven't heard the theory that she may be Scott Summers' daughter, which would tie into the upcoming Doomsday. But that doesn't seem to. It doesn't make me really excited at all. Respectfully, it just kind of really doesn't. So for me, I just feel that it has to be Jean Grey. And I do find it interesting that Famke Janssen, I probably butchered that last name, who played Jean Grey, the whole Phoenix saga that we sat through, that she is hooting and hollering about being upset she wasn't invited into the Secret Wars cast.
Really?
She was hooting and hollering about it. And then, again, we have seen actors straight up lie in our faces about who they are going to play. And it would be interesting because we do know that the old guard of X-Men is going to most likely die off or be killed. And when it comes to this is why we're getting a brand new cast and everything else. Remember, we had that little teaser in the Marvels, where it was Beast, and it was Kelsey Grammer's Beast, who was in that. So we know that we're getting the old-fashioned, X-Men, but it's most likely they're gonna have to like either die off, and we have a whole new cast of people, and Sadie Sink would be that, or we don't know where Sadie Sink's Jean Grey is. So it would be interesting if Famke is hooting and hollering and it's all a lie and a stunt, and she's actually in the movie. Because as you stated, they didn't announce everyone. Where's Halle Berry? Halle Berry wasn't announced. I don't believe she was announced either when they did that whole lineup and made us stare at chairs for like 64 hours. So I still say somebody is lying. We do not know, again, as we stated before, what character she's going to be, but it just makes the most sense that it is Jean Grey. And it would have fans, I'm not going to say it would have fans more invested. I'm just saying this overall, if you look at the power structure of what she's able to do, the Charles Xavier situation, it would be great. And also, it would be lovely if we can bypass that whole Phoenix saga event. Just erase that from our memory and have this character start off, fresh and new and different. So that would be great as well. I also wanted to pivot because there is still more to this trailer. What Ned and MJ are doing. It's very interesting if you go back to the previous Homecoming, where Ned made the joke, "Don't turn me into anyone evil," because we all know Ned Leeds ends up being an evil character. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what's happening with this Ned in terms of whether or not he'll turn evil, what's going on, but we do know this. Ned knew that someone saved his life that day during Homecoming. He does not know, as we already stated, who Spider-Man is. Everyone knows that Spider-Man exists. We just don't know the identity. So that whole, remember when Jake Gyllenhaal was like, "And the identity of Spider-Man is Peter Parker," and he was like, "Oh, spoop." Remember that whole thing? That does not exist anymore. It's digitally erased. Everything is erased of its existence. But Ned and MJ have been heavily working on trying to find out who is this guy that was saving him, that saved him, and is saving the world. And so, not the world, but what are we in Queens? So we know this. There was a mention of a parkour Spider-Man, which is Carlos Rodriguez. He's Latino. It wasn't like really a Spider-Man from the comics, from what I assume. It was like a small character. We do know that there's a theory that Flash Thompson could be Spider-Man. We know that that is not true at all. So we do know that there is an investigation of who is the Spider-Man and that they're actively looking for each other. For him, they just don't remember the connection. So you see that even though you can break a connection or a memory, it's still there. It lives in your bones. Because, you would just say, Spider-Man saved me, and you would go on with your day. But I think that the power of, I hate to be really corny, the power of friendship and the love that they shared for each other, is something that's stronger, and it's very corny. But that could happen. Also on top of that, MJ is she's seeing a guy. I know that, Peter is very upset about that, but there's nothing that he can do. She doesn't know that she was deeply in love with this guy named Peter Parker. And she's moved on, and he seems to be, MJ seems to be someone who's like an activist. She's not there was a reveal that she turned down a job opportunity at a company that could possibly be Oscorp, her and Ned. And so she's fighting the good fight of corporations boo. But this boyfriend seems to be like, yeah, I support you, but I'm gonna, he's still on that side of maybe big tech. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic between those two. And we do know that Peter does crash that party, and this is how he's able to see everybody. And of course, I think MJ changed her hair color. It's much darker now. I am colorblind. I don't know whether it's like a deep dark red or black, but I'm going to assume like a deep dark red. So that's what are your thoughts on kind of looking for a new Spider-Man and that whole situation?
Well, I think that's a very interesting plot. It would suggest to the audience that at some point by the end of the movie, they may find out that he is the one that saved them, or they're going to prolong that for much longer. But I want to see where they're going with that. But looking for a new Spider-Man, I saw they had one very interesting casting that I thought was I thought it was something that people should pay attention to. I believe the actress on The Bear is been casted in this movie to play a character that people are thinking, is this somewhat related to Miles Morales? And obviously, I don't know. I know that they said her casting role was secret because they never said who she's playing. So they obviously have some surprises up their sleeves with this movie. But I think if they're looking for other Spider-Men, that's an opportunity to introduce other characters in the universe that could potentially be important later. There'll be some jokes in there too. I'm sure there'll be some fake Spider-Men that don't really know what they're doing. I mean, they'll have some stuff in there to make it fun, but I want to see where they're going with that. But as for Ned and MJ, I think from a fan standpoint, I could see eventually Peter getting on good terms, getting to know them, and so on and so forth. I don't know if it will ever be the same that it was, but I would not be surprised if they still take that direction and turn Ned evil in the next movie or whenever, because obviously there's going to be a fallout from whatever happens in the Avengers movie, because that's the next movie right after this one. So I do want to see where they're going. With MJ, I believe there was a scene in the trailer where it was revealed that, again, Spider-Man has to basically, he's going around the city and he has MJ with her. There was some type of conversation that he was going to be with her. And so I kind of feel like when they go to those scenes, she may start to think this feels like something that she remembers, but I don't, because the spell that Doctor Strange had is very effective. So I do want to see if some of that stuff gets changed around. But yeah, that's a good tidbit that they are searching for Spider-Man. So that tells me there will be some type of resolution to that story by the end of the movie, I would think.
Okay, there you go. I was muted. I also wanted to talk about, now obviously we have Hulk. We do know we'll have Gray Hulk as well. Our angry Hulk, his device was broken, and therefore it allowed Hulk to escape because the device was to keep the gamma rays at bay. And so with this being, we have him running rampant around the city as well. And as a result, Peter goes to MJ and also obviously Ned an extension to help get the device fixed. And this is how they end up spending more and more time together. So that could be, could also, I can't even say jar memories because it's not like it's amnesia. It's a spell. And you need something to break that spell. I also am starting to wonder if Jean Grey or whoever Sadie Sink is playing is the one that can break this spell. And that is how we get battle protected and where everybody comes back in kumbaya with each other. So that should be interesting. But we do have a Hulk running around. As we saw, there is destruction. He destroys a building. And all New York has always been under construction. We see that as well. This is why we saw the Oscorp that could have been constructed, or maybe the new Avengers Tower, but something gets destroyed because of the Hulk, and he's in a hot mess. And so this ends up, why Peter needs MJ essentially. She MIT, you're smart, you know technology. Then on top of that, we do so that was Savage Hulk who caused all that mess. Um, and so with this device is actually very important because it's not also to keep Hulk at bay. He wants something similar, him being Peter Parker, to help control his evolution of Spider-Man, the powers that he is able to have. Remember, he said, "Can I keep the good parts and just take out the bad parts?" So that device is going to be very helpful. Maybe he ends up using it as well. We don't know. But there is one thing that was said that should be interesting, and that Zendaya did say that it's going to be very sad. This is not a happy-go-lucky, the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. It is going to be sad. So my theory, my wonderment is, who dies? Or do you even think there is a death? Because I'm like, maybe Ned will go.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could see there being some casualties. That would make this movie definitely stand out from the others if it is a key character getting taken out. I know we saw Aunt May get taken out in the past, and how that definitely will change Peter. We will continue to see that in this movie. Yeah, I feel like if it is a friend that is very close to Peter, that would hurt a lot more. If it is Ned, yeah, that would be quite devastating. I think that's possible. I'm not sure though, because there's there's a lot happening in that trailer to get excited about. There's so many questions about where they're going with. You have the Hand involved, you have Scorpion involved, you have questions about what's going on with Peter, whether or not he's going to be able to help Ned and MJ remember. And then, of course, the Punisher and the Hulk. And I would assume that tank that we saw in the trailer, I'm assuming that this was brought in to deal with the Hulk. I'm assuming that's what it is. I don't know if it was brought in to deal with the Hand, but if the Hulk is on the loose, then they obviously need to try to stop him. So I assume that's what that's all about. But again, yeah, so many questions to ask about where they're going with a lot of things they showed in the trailer.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That does bring a very interesting theory. And then on top of that, I wanted to know kind of with the Sadie Sink, Jean Grey character theory that we did see in the trailer. She is actually able to control Hulk. She can control everyone, but we see distinctly she is able to control Hulk. So that should be a very interesting thing where he's like, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. It's actually her. And that is something that is a new dynamic that Peter obviously has never really fought before. Another thing that I wanted to bring up that is interesting is the fact of mutants. Jean Grey, we all know, is a mutant. Mutants has always existed in this, 616. Remember Kamala Khan when it did, and it was something that activated the gene. We all, Spider-Man is not a mutant. He's mutating, but he's not a mutant. But I do feel that this mutation is to prepare him for something that's even bigger coming down the line. And we've seen it before where, we're fighting the enemy and we all end up becoming best friends with the enemy. How this could end up leading to Spider-Man and Jean Grey, who's not Jean Grey, but is Jean Grey, Sadie Sink's character in the future. I think we have Secret Wars. And Doomsday, I do not believe that involves them. But it would be interesting on that. What are your thoughts on the possible theory that he is evolving because it is to prepare him for something bigger? That his spider sense, remember, he still has spidey senses, which is why he's able to see Jean control how it jumps around to control everybody. Remember, there is that scene at the wedding where he crashes through the wedding and everyone's like frozen, and we see he's able to track it through his technology, which, by the way, is not Stark technology. He's able to track it through the technology to see it move around. Do you think that his powers are evolving because there is a bigger threat that his spider senses are going beep, 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 beep? And that it's not necessarily because of the Jean Grey character?
Yeah, I think that's that's the direction they have to take it. That's what is pretty much happening to him. That will be needed much later. It may be something that we don't see payoff until the Secret Wars movie, or it could be something that else that we see that happens in the Avengers Doomsday movie. I mean, we have to wait and see. I do, however, want to say this. I am disappointed in Sony that they teased the whole Venom and Spider-Man thing, and then we never got a payoff to any of that stuff, because I also thought that what was happening to Peter Parker could lead to some type of thing where it gets out of him, and that is what plays a role in creating the next Venom or maybe a Carnage. I feel like as a Spider-Man fan, I wanted to see Spider-Man have those type of interactions on the big screen, and unfortunately, I don't think Sony wanted to do that. Even though they teased it, they said, "Nah, we're good." So that's unfortunate. So now, like you said, I think this can only lead to, yeah, he's going to need this extended powers and stuff in the future. That's probably the only path they could take it, but I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we have to wait and see, and it's that's also a good thing. We don't have all of the answers, which is good that we don't. Usually, movies will tell you the entire plot, and this one is like, here's something of a plot, but we're gonna not tell you all the key details. So yeah, I think that was a good point as well. So we do know that there are the ending credits, at least a voiceover of one May still talking and kind of living within him. So I do like that little nice piece. I don't think I got to for the professor. We have another professor in here, which I hope my pages didn't fly all the way. One of the by the actor Trimall, who's very popular on Severance. Everybody loves him. He's playing a professor who, of course, turns into he's an evil bad guy as well. So again, I'm kind of wondering, are there too many characters, or he going around? Because we do know that it opens, because they did release officially like the first page of the script, where we do see that throughout the years, the 4 years, Spider-Man is battling, all of these different bad guys. That's how we end up with Scorpion. But with this, we also have another person, and I'm just kind of like wondering, could it be too much? I don't know. I have faith that they'll be able to balance everything. I don't think that it's going to be a huge thing. We do know, for example, Keith David is Jackal. We do know that Trimall is playing Bill Metzinger, who, he talks about there being a new threat. So he could be, part of a villain as well. So any thoughts on, do you think that there are too many characters in this movie?
Well, first and foremost, let me take a step back. I didn't realize they released the first page of the script. So, oh no. So that's definitely, that must be media only. I didn't see nobody talking about this. This is my first time hearing this. It's a very interesting decision to do that. Because I didn't know Keith David was playing a villain in this movie. So that's news to me.
I remember hearing you did the voiceover, but we don't.
Yeah, I heard the voiceover, but I didn't know he is playing that character. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I think there are definitely going to be a lot of villains in this movie, because the thing about it is this: with the whole Scorpion thing, he is a part of his whole team, the Sinister Six, to deal with Spider-Man. But one thing is that we have never seen the other characters that would be a part of this. I do not believe that Michael Keaton is returning, although again, that's something where that was not, because I know they were in that same jail. They were in the same jail together. So I don't really know if that character is going to return. But that is very interesting about the other characters, and those other characters could also be on the same team. So do I think it's too many villains? Well, the way I look at it is you have Spider-Man, you have the Punisher, and you have the Hulk. So there may be some team ups happening, but obviously what it looks like in that trailer is that Hulk is the threat that has to be taken out, or just, subdued. So I would like to see where they're going with that. Obviously, the Hand is still there. They're going to have to deal with the Hand. but yeah, they got quite a bit of things happening in the trailer. So I guess we have to wait and see. One other quick point that I do want to mention, though, because you were mentioning Jean Grey. The other thing I saw people talking about online, and again, this is, I think, nothing is confirmed. There are some people think this character is actually Scarlet Witch.
Right.
And that's another thing, because Scarlet Witch is also a part of the X-Men too, right? Or has some type of ties to the X-Men. So it clearly is.
Remember the whole thing about the cosmos and the thing?
Yes, yes. So there is a connection. It's definitely an X-Men character, but I will say this. Make this comment, Dana. I'm very surprised you said about the old guard getting taken out, because I do not want to see Patrick Stewart as Professor X get taken out again. But it's going to have to happen, right? Because it has to happen. Yeah, but we have to see what happened. But there definitely is a lot happening in this movie. Didn't the director say this is like an Avengers type level movie, the Spider-Man movie? Didn't he say that? Yeah, it's
street level Avengers.
Yeah, so it's going to definitely be a lot of stuff happening, a lot of characters, a lot of. It's going to be very, 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 very interesting, I would say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And then I also misstated when I said Tremolo is playing a villain. He is head of the DODC, who is a part of keeping the mysterious Sadie Sink's character under lock and key, which I also wanted to bring in another thing. In terms of X-Men, remember how he was talking about how Bruce Banner was able to suppress his entire Hulk version by wearing this kind of bracelet, not even device, really?
Yeah.
And that they have to go and fix it again? I am kind of wondering if that falls into the wrong hands. And we know that mutants exist on 616. That is how we create the whole, remember, suppression of mutant powers and control of that. Mm-hmm. So that could be another version level of how we get the X-Men. That can later develop into, the mutant saga. We're all alive for that. The mutant saga. So it's. I feel that they're sprinkling little breadcrumbs, which to some people may be frustrating, because it's like, here's what you're stating in this movie that you're putting little breadcrumbs in, but we won't be able to see that till another 4 years down the line. So I just hope that they're not doing too much in this movie, but they also are doing something with this movie, which of course I think they are. So for you, any thoughts on that connection?
Oh yeah. Well, I like I said earlier, I think they definitely. I believe Marvel is very aware that when they released the Doomsday movie, and judging by the response of how people were responding to that trailer when they saw Cyclops, I think they are very aware they need to start building towards this X-Men movie. Whatever this movie is, whether it's X-Men versus Avengers, whatever, they have to start building towards this movie. So I think it makes sense to sprinkle stuff throughout these other movies, as well as explain what's happening with the characters throughout, and showing them evolve and go through all these other character development moments. So that makes sense to me. That was actually what I enjoyed even most about when they did the last Avengers movie, because there were things they would have conversations happen that happened in a previous movie. And then in that movie, it's a callback to, once again, going back to that type of thing. The stuff with Spider-Man, between Spider-Man and Captain America, that was phenomenal. So if they are going to be doing that with the end goal that this is going to be revisited in a later Avengers movie or whatever, I am totally fine with that, because I thought that was great. That actually was cool as a comic fan to see them call back, because it means that I spent all that time watching all those movies. I got a payoff, because I got a lot of other questions answered that I was curious about. But no, I think, yeah, there's a lot happening in the trailer. I know they want to be very coy and not reveal a lot of stuff, which I think is good. I just hope that there are no spoilers that get out before this movie comes to the theaters, because I have a very high concern about that, depending on when the media is able to watch the movie. Obviously, they will be told you can't say certain stuff, but clearly there are some people that will try to find a way to suggest something. And that's why I said, hopefully nothing gets spoiled before everyone gets a chance to see the movie, which is why people need to go get their tickets now. And I'm not being paid to say this. I'm just saying, listen, go get your tickets because I got my ticket, so I will not be spoiled.
That is true. And also another thing I wanted to mention really quickly that I did forget to mention was, remember when in the previous Spider-Man movie, when Doctor Strange punched him out of like his soul separated from his body, but he was still able to control his soul, and then Doctor Strange was like, what's going on? That never happened before. That is also another reason as to why he could be not affected by Sadie Sink's powers. So,
absolutely,
it's interesting. And also, this movie overall still seems to be learning from the consequences of his actions from the previous 4 years. And everything that is the result of his actions from 4 years ago. So, I just think that it's really fascinating with that. Also, I'm wondering, still we don't know, is why Punisher is able to not be affected by this. And he's just staring off in the distance like, what the heck is going on? Is everyone's like, so that also is also something that is looking forward to. I don't think that it's something that's really strong. Maybe, again, it could be another character that is protecting him. I don't think that he is some kind of opening or gate as to why Jean Grey or whomever Sadie is playing doesn't want him to be affected. It'll be very interesting. We don't really have the answers to that. We don't have really the answers to anything. But it's always fun to theorize. And yes, as you stated, make sure you get your tickets. This is not a Spade Plus Sauce sponsorship. Like, again, Sony don't know me. They don't like me. So
no, they got you.
This should be interesting. So yeah, this is kind of our anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to the movie. I know Marvel Disney in general, they have a lot of things. It feels as though they decided this year we're going hard with all types of movies. I saw, obviously, they have Toy Story, which is out now. I still need to see that. And, of course, I saw the trailer to Dana's movie of the year, the Moana movie, in which The Rock looks absolutely absurd with that wig on. I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, no, hell no, I will not watch that. But props to Disney. I hope that, they have success at the box office with all their movies.
Yes, success and everything after that. Also, I just want to say it would be hilarious if Sadie Sink is playing Madam Web from the greatest movie to ever exist, Madam Web. Yeah, so we'll be back talking about other things. I know this one over here again, Spider-Man. We'll see what will happen with that. And of course, there are other movies and shows to watch. One of my best movies is The Invite. Go watch that. It's with Seth Rogen. I know, but it's with Seth Rogen and it's actually very good. Go watch Girls Like Girls, which is very good as well. Happy Pride to the girls like girls and the boys that like boys too. All of them. So we will be back when we have more info. Yeah.
And since you were talking about movie recommendations, I would like to make one. If you like action movies, you need to go see The Furious. And that is all I have to say. Just like The Raid, it's the same people from The Raid in that movie. That movie is absolutely crazy. So I would recommend you check that out.
I heard about it. So, yes, we will be back to talk about more things in the movie universe. So I have been your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr., who is basically his real identity. So is Miles Morales. He is cosplaying as Richard Bailey Jr. right now. So I am excited for that and meeting him. So yeah, we'll be back and we'll talk about more things later on. So have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever you're watching this, and enjoy.